I am so numb without you. You are the violence in my veins. You are the war inside my brain. You are my glitter and my glue. I am so numb without you.
That was Numb Without You by the Maine right here on Gone Fishkin, and I'm very stoked right now to be joined by them on their bus. So I guess I'm joining them more so than you're joining me at this point.
You are joining us.
You were here before both of us.
But you were here before us.
So we've
maybe
joined
we are
you.
joining you, and you are also joining us.
True.
We are conjoined.
I love that.
Yeah.
I feel like we've been attached at the hip for the last 5 years anyway. So
True that.
5,000 years.
5,000 years. So just in case anyone in the cameras or on the radio doesn't know who you guys are, introduce yourselves and tell them a little bit about you, what you do in the band.
Go for it, dude.
Hi, I'm Garrett. I play the bass. It has 4 strings.
Hi, I'm John. I play the vocals.
How many chords does a vocal cord have?
Plenty.
Plenty of them.
For
I
a
love
band
it.
called The Maine, yeah.
Very nice. You guys just dropped your brand new album, You Are Okay.
We did.
And the album is on top of almost every chart ever. It's towards the top of everything.
In the world of modern music,
It sold billions.
it sold
Billions of them.
billions. In reality, it sold 10,000 copies.
That's still
no,
a
but
lot.
No, it's been pretty insane.
Yeah.
We've received such a crazy reaction. Just like, I don't know. When we started our band, maybe things were a bit more rabid, but I feel like this feels more supportive, if that makes sense. It feels a bit more like about the music than it ever has, and I think that that's something that we really appreciate because we put our whole, being into making this record. So we're very, very excited about the future and excited about what's going on right now. So
For sure. And you went back to Matt Squire, who did Can't Stop, Won't Stop as well, correct?
true that.
Yes,
Yeah.
it did.
We did it in Baltimore. So that was obviously the difference. We did the first one with him in Los Angeles out here. But it was pretty seamless when we got into the studio. It felt like no time had passed, and we kind of just started bullshitting and getting right back into the meat and potatoes of making a record. So it was pretty strange how seamless it felt.
Yeah, for sure. It was bonkers.
Yeah.
And now this record is the first time you guys really experimented more so with orchestral instrumentation in
Yeah.
the background. Like even Numb Without You starts out with the string section, and a handful of other songs that also have that.
Yeah.
So talk about that a little bit, because you guys have always been a very balls to the wall rock and roll band, at least for like the last 4 albums, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the big thing is what is in the realm of where we exist. What can we do to make the 7th album stand apart from all the other albums that we've made? It wasn't necessarily a drive to like separate ourselves from the pack of peers that we tour with and are clumped together with. It was more so about how can we push ourselves to make a record that we haven't made to date. So that was kind of where the strings entered. Obviously having like an extra instrumental sound being unique, I think that's sort of like it's an obvious sort of move to make, to deviate from the process. But it was still very challenging, still very rewarding, like hearing the program stuff to the actual arranged stuff that our buddy Andrew Jocelyn did. And it's just, I don't know, it was obviously the big struggle now for us would be how do we recreate the whole thing live. And obviously we can't bring a quintet around with us everywhere, but we had the privilege to play with one for some sessions that we did for a publication called Rock Sound that blew us away. Just the idea that we could eventually get to a place where maybe for a whole tour we could bring people out and experiment with actual strings live. So I don't know. I think the whole thing has been a learning process for us, and I think it's still rewarding to know that we can still learn this far in and push ourselves.
And something really cool about the album and like just the sound in general is I feel like with every album you guys kind of reinvent yourself in a way, but I've never ever heard anyone say I want to hear the old stuff from the Maine. It's always like the new album's always the one everyone's obsessed with, and I feel like only you guys could pull that off. You guys and maybe the 1975 are probably the only two bands that I've never heard anyone like really critique like the newest stuff compared to the old stuff.
I think it just has to do with the fact that we're pushing ourselves and the fan base we have. People want to hear something new, and yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing is they're excited for whatever we're excited for at the time, and it just happens to be the new albums.
I think we put so much emphasis on what's going on right now that it's sort of probably a bit hard to get away from, like, because we're always constantly on social media talking about what's happening. And I think we spent so many years distancing ourselves from early material that we're ready to embrace it. I mean, we did the 8123 Fest the second time around, and we played Can't Stop, Won't Stop in its entirety. And I felt like it was really neat to revisit some of those songs because some we had never played, and some we had played, 9 years ago. So
The weirdest thing about that set, though, was when we were actually playing it, it was like, oh, people are, like, into it. And then when we switched to the second chunk, when we were playing newer stuff, it was, like, totally different. People were like, oh, it felt like, oh, this is what I wanted to hear. Like, it's cool that you played those, but for me, it was like, oh, we don't need to do like a tour like that or anything.
And coming off the Europe shows that we just did, it was really interesting to feel the reaction.
We had to cut an old song. Like, we were playing Can't Stop, or Count on 1, 2, 3, and was like, that's not working.
Yeah. So we replaced it with a new tune, which is really, I don't know, it's very, it creates a really good feeling for us because it means that people are digging what we're doing right now and not relying on nostalgia and sort of the past. So
Yeah, I definitely noticed that too at the festival, and also something really cool. One, thank you for the incredible weekend. It was probably one of the best weekends I've ever had.
Hell
got
yeah.
to
Us too, yeah.
got to hang out with Guns. Guns, I know you're watching very closely.
Shouts out.
Yeah, I got
Crazy
to
guy.
hang out with him for a weekend for the first time in years. And then also, you guys released Numb Without You like 2 or 3 days before the show, and that was probably the loudest reaction standing in the crowd hearing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of what I was talking. It was like just the drastic change between those two sets and that song in particular. And then the first show, us just coming out and playing it and getting the reaction it did, it was like overwhelming. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool. And then you guys actually premiered Heaven We're Already Here during your DJ set.
Yeah.
And I forgot who I was talking to.
Subliminal messaging.
There was a few really cool moments about that. One, you just started playing it.
Mm-hmm.
2, I didn't see anyone with their phone out trying to like record the audio.
No, I didn't either.
I think they were probably just confused and
I
maybe
think
slightly
everyone
drunk.
was very confused. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
everybody was wasted and confused.
The second time we did it, I was definitely drunk.
Yeah, let's not talk about the second one.
Yeah.
I ended up on stage at some point and I'm like, oh. But regardless, I forgot who I was talking to after it. I was like, yo, that song was sick. When are you guys releasing it? Is it the next single? And they were just like, no, it's just a track on the record. I'm like, God damn it. It's like, so I was just really stoked to hear that. Then I finally got to hear the record, and just going through it, like Slip the News, such an incredible opening track like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then I love how Flowers on the Grave, it just ends the same way kind of the album starts with
Sure.
the lyrics repeating, which is a really cool thing too.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that was probably the only... Well, Slip the Noose was the only real staple we had going into making the record. We knew that we wanted that song to kick off the whole thing. We just didn't know where the whole thing was going to go after that. And I think we actually... I mean, we knew that was like gonna be a good bookend. I've never really done that where I've reverted and sort of did a call back to either a past song or a past lyric, and I think that was I don't know, for me it really encompasses how the record made us feel. The opening track and then the last track, very much a roller coaster. And
well, and the two drastically different moods. The beginning starts with like kind of unsure and kind of hectic, and then the end it kind of feels like accepting where you're at. And it's kind of how I've always seen it.
And it was also cool listening through, and like none of the songs in my opinion sounded like they could have been on any other albums. Like a lot of bands you'll listen through, you'll be like, oh, this could have been on this album, but like this one, it's like it's so unique to its sound. The only connection I personally heard while listening to it, I feel like One Sunset may be a part 2 to English Girls in a way, just reading through the lyrics. I could be completely wrong.
I never thought about that. And that would be a you question. I don't know.
I mean, lyrically, I don't think it had any. I guess the only tie would be the England.
Yeah, that might be it.
Geographic reference, but to me, that one came together so late in the game that we were glad that it did, because it added some sort of tempo that I don't think we've ever explored before. I felt like it stayed up the whole song, and we've never really experimented with that.
Yeah, I think we've tried it so many times, a song in that way, and it just never felt right. And the pressure.
I think it's because our intuition is always trying to write a chorus for a song, and I think that one just stayed up, and it didn't really allow for necessarily like a super anthemic chorus, and I don't think we had much time to overthink it.
I think that was the biggest thing, is we wrote it in the studio in like an hour. It came together so fast that it was like, I remember getting the demo from that night and us being like, are we allowed to do it that, because of how long everything else took, and like how much thought was into like every single part, just like throwing this song together, it felt kind of like uneasy. But then it's one of my favorites, and I think because of how quick it happened, it let us not maybe go to certain things that we would normally do, like what you're saying, like a big chorus or something. It just kind of it just kind of goes.
Yeah, that's awesome. And also something really cool about this album. Well, there's a million cool things about this album, let's be honest.
Thank you.
But you guys, your branding and the way you guys present yourself in the marketing behind everything is just so genius. Like the Lovely Little Lonely show, the show You Laid It to Rest, you guys hinted at You Are Okay at, I believe.
Yeah.
I think I saw something online with that. And then also you had flowers on a grave somewhere too.
That was definitely on purpose. That one was for sure on purpose.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's like the way you guys hint at everything, and just the aesthetic you guys put up is just so cool. And I don't think a lot of bands like think like you guys.
We appreciate it. Yeah, honestly, I mean, to hint at what Garrett is getting at, is a lot of it is just made up. Like, we're just making it up. I think,
of course, the "You Are Okay" part.
No, the "You Are
that
Okay"
was for sure. Like,
I think what we're trying to infuse in all of this is that we actually give a shit about all this. Like, it's obviously music is first and foremost, but we're not like, I don't know. It's different.
I think
we just care about every little piece, and I think that's why we never fit on a record label, because we had an opinion about every little thing, and I think that they did too, and they were also footing the bill. So now that we're footing the bill and we can say what we want and have it actually come out the way we see it, I think we're just pretty meticulous with all of it, and we feel like it's more, I don't know. It's harder to stand out as a band in 2019. It's harder than it ever has been. So hopefully people are connecting to the music, obviously, and then hopefully connecting to the idea that we're passionate about what we're doing, and we're giving a ton to it. So
yeah.
And lyrically, this album's definitely my favorite too. Like, I listened through it, and now that "Aim Away" messages are gone, I hear it, I'm like, damn, there's some good tweets in here. But yeah, it's like very relatable, very hopeful, this album. I sense this like really a lot of hope going on.
Sure.
That things do get better, and kind of sends obviously the message of being okay.
Yeah.
And then also with it, you guys also have some really dark moments of the record as well.
I think that's what life is, man.
Yeah.
Life is definitely a tough business.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an easy game, and I think that if you're here, you're brave, and you're even more brave to stick around and fight it out. So I don't know. I think I've been through ups and downs just like everybody in this room. I think that I'd like to think there have been more ups than downs, but you only appreciate one because of the other. And I think that the older that I get, the more I realize that it really is going to be okay, because the alternative is, I guess, death. and nobody's really written anything great from the grave. So I'm taking the other route.
I love that. And now also, you guys have a tour coming up. You guys are opening up for Taking Back Sunday on their 20-year tour, which is going to be awesome.
Yeah, very excited.
And then after that, you have Sad Summer Fest, which is a festival you guys helped curate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually go from the TBS tour to a headliner with Grayscale.
Oh, okay.
And then from there we do the summer tour. But yeah, it's sort of crazy the way that the whole year's been ironed out, and even some of next year already.
I kind of we've been off for so long on the road, or off the road, that this is like the beginning of it all, and I'm just like, oh, okay, get your body ready.
Yeah.
It's about to get intense.
No, we're really excited.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously to start off, it was part of the thinking, putting the record out and not doing a proper headliner straight away. We've never done that before. So we sort of ran a cycle. Every time we put out a record, do a headliner. And I think for this one, we really wanted to let the record sort of sit and marinate for a second and see where it could take us, and see how people were reacting and digging it or not. So it's really neat to be able to do Taking Back Sunday's 20-year shows and then go into something that's a little more geared towards just us. I think, again, we need to fight for some ears and try to get people to tune into what we're doing and work for it.
For sure. And then with Sad Summerfest, it's obviously Mayday Parade, state champs are on it as well. And did you guys, when you did 8123, you be like, maybe we should take this show on the road like this?
It was even before that, to be honest.
Yeah, we've been talking about this. The idea's been around for years, but it was us doing the fest the first time, and then the second one kind of seeming like it was going to go over well. It kind of gave us the confidence to be like, yay, we can actually do that.
The real motivation was just, again, we all as individual bands work so hard, and alone can only take it so far right now at this point in time. So we always thought, well, what if we joined forces on a more intimate scale? You know, obviously Warped Tour was so incredible because it brought so many different artists around and sort of occupied this space where if you just were sort of in tune with like the scene or like the idea of that movement, then you could just go and find your new favorite band. I think for us, Pat has been putting it pretty eloquently, is saying that it's for a very specific person. It's for somebody that's digging what we're all doing, and I think it's, obviously it's all inclusive, and we're inviting everybody to come, but we're also keeping in mind that sort of the Captain America, like with all of our powers combined, it's like we can hopefully put on a special event and make people that are fans of like all the different bands that are coming, hopefully give them a place to enjoy like a full festival style day of music that you don't really get anymore.
And I think very specific to these bands.
Yeah.
It's easy. The problem for a little while was like so broad that it was like that band wouldn't make sense, where it's like we can give these certain fans a specific day that they're going to remember and have the best time because it's like, hey, there's a drink named after state champs song, and just like things like that, little things that you're like, oh, just like every little aspect is important.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time this airs, you guys, whatever, already played your LA show for.
It was amazing.
It was incredible.
It
Twin
was
XL killed it as
so
an opener.
good, so good.
Had a great time.
I didn't break any strings.
Yeah, everything went
Shit.
seamless. It was great. And now the next thing you're gonna play is a show with Taking Back Sunday, and then
that was
by the time-
amazing
yeah,
too.
That was amazing as
so,
well.
Yeah.
So good.
And by the time I see you in the summer, you guys are not going to be as happy as
Yeah.
or not as energetic
No,
during the
just
day.
as sprightly.
Awesome. So about to wrap it up. Anything else you guys want to say to everyone out there right now? Oh yeah, before I forget, you guys kind of made the 8123 pop-up shop a
Yeah.
little bit of a permanent fixture in the community now.
We did in
Yeah.
Arizona.
Yeah.
Van Buren, in between 14th and 12th.
Yeah.
Not 13th.
It's not 13th. It's somewhere.
It's somewhere by there. But we're setting up shop for a full year. Its permanence is short term, if that makes sense.
We are figuring out things.
But yeah, we've been opening it occasionally. If you follow us on whatever, you can find more about it. It's been incredible though. It just the idea that we can bring the same vibe as one of these remote pop-up shops and make it more of a permanent retail feel is really.
And we're just trying to make it like a Pac Sun. That's what we want. We want it to be a Pac
yeah, it's
Sun
not really-
vibes.
Like retail is so whack, but
Like, I don't know, like skater surf vibes for
Yeah.
sure. Pac Sun, shout out Zoomies.
shout out Zoom.
Shout out to Zoomies and all the
Hurley.
shout out to Hurley.
Vans.
Vans. I've been in a van before.
We're in a big van right now.
Yep.
Very big. And then the last thing I want to talk about before we completely wrap it up and I say my goodbyes to you guys for till tomorrow.
Yeah.
You guys played a show to one person in Arizona.
We did.
Yeah.
How did you pull that off and no one else know about it?
Well, the idea was sort of, it was initially just to be recording songs for Rock Sound, the
Yeah.
magazine.
It was our opportunity to do the strings.
Oh, okay.
Full
Yeah.
string, so
But bringing the person in felt like the most appropriate thing to do because it felt aptly sort of conjoined. There
Yeah.
we go. Let's revisit conjoined.
I like how you started the interview with
With-
conjoined and end it with conjoined.
With the idea of you are okay. It was supposed to be, I guess, speaking to one individual as opposed to speaking to a large group of what can sometimes feel like faceless and nameless. When you're clumped into a category, you don't necessarily feel like, an individual. So it was a really neat experience. I was probably more nervous for that show than I have been
Yes.
for a lot of shows. Just I don't know why it was more intimidating because it felt like there's only one pair of ears to judge, and if you
They're
flub this,
100%.
then yeah, they're
they can personally call you out.
yeah. So
But she also didn't. The record wasn't out, so she
yeah,
hadn't heard anything.
She was caught
So
off
what a s-
guard, and
Now that I'm thinking about it, it's like such a strange way to hear
Sure, yeah.
songs.
yeah,
But I'm sure she enjoyed it.
yeah, we're really happy with the way it turned out. She was pumped. She ended up crying. I think good tears.
I hope so.
But we're gonna release all the videos at some point too
Oh,
for
awesome.
people to see, and yeah.
Sweet. So on next record cycle, I'll be waiting for the call.
There
I'll,
you
I'll
go,
drive to
yeah.
Arizona to be that one person.
We're
Yeah.
gonna do a lot of steel drum on the next record.
Love
That's,
that.
Strings. This one steel drum.
Steel drum.
Awesome.
Bing
So
bong.
You Are Okay out now, tearing up the charts. Everyone's streaming it everywhere. Tens of thousands have bought it. Or
Everyone's
a 10 of
buying
thousand.
it.
Everyone is.
You
like
guys
I
have-
said, it sold $1 billion.
Yep.
Love that. Love you guys. Thank you so much for letting me hang out on your bus. Talk to you guys
course.
again. Always
Yeah.
a pleasure.
Great to see you.
Great to see you too. And I want to play one more song off of You Are Okay for everyone.
Cool.
Let's do Heaven.
Awesome. Here is Heaven, We're Already Here by the Maine. Thank you guys again for letting me chill.
Cheers.
See ya.